Welcome back to part 2 of this video on the lost civilizations. We really enjoyed making the first one and we decided, well, we have to make a second at least. And we're hoping to make more going forward too. So before we dive right in, and we are going to dive right in, please subscribe. That's all. That's all. How fast was that? See, it's not that difficult. It's that fast to say it. It's that fast to click it. Anyway, I digress. So part 2 is going to begin looking at the Indus Valley culture. So the Indus Valley civilization, also known as the Harappan civilization, was one of the world's earliest urban cultures, flourishing in the Indus River basin in what is now modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. It existed from approximately 3,300 to 1300 BC. So, the civilization extended over a vast area with major settlements such as Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, and Lothal. These cities were well planned with advanced urban infrastructure, including well-organized streets, drainage systems, and brick-built houses. The Hindu script, found on numerous seals and inscriptions, remains undeciphered to this day. The details of the civilization's written records and language remain largely unknown, which is a shame because I would like to know more about these people. The Indus Valley people were engaged in agriculture, with evidence of advanced farming techniques and a reliance on the Indus River for irrigation. They cultivated a variety of crops, including wheat, barley, and various fruits. Furthermore, the civilization had extensive trade networks reaching regions as far as Mesopotamia, which we covered in the last episode, and we included the Sumer and our good friend Gilgamesh, who won't leave me alone in Civilization 6. Archaeological findings include artifacts such as seals, pottery, and beads that suggest trade connections with ancient Sumer, who again won't leave me alone. Harappan art was characterized by a high level of craftsmanship as seen in pottery, jewelry, and sculpture. They produced distinctive seal carvings, often depicting animals and script. Terracotta figurines were also common, as they were in many ancient civilizations, particularly China. The religion of the Indus Valley civilization is not well understood due to the lack of the deciphered texts. However, some artifacts suggest a reverence for animals, including images of humped bulls. The priest king sculpture found at Mohenjo-daro is a notable religious artifact and can be seen online. The reasons for the decline of the Indus Valley civilization are still debated among historians and archaeologists. Again, we can't read their writing, so we can't read too much about what caused this decline, and there were no historians writing at the time that we are aware of, at least in a language we can understand. Possible factors include environmental changes, such as shifts in the course of the Indus River, as well as internal conflicts and invasions from external forces, which is very possible and also more likely. The legacy of the Indus Valley civilization is evident in the cultural and technological contributions it made. The sophisticated urban planning and drainage systems employed by the Harappans were remarkable for their time. I know ancient Rome in the West gets a lot of credit for drainage systems and this kind of thing, but it was around much earlier than that, and I think the Romans get more credit than they deserve. So to be honest, they're copying the ancient Greeks, they're copying the Indus Valley civilization, but what did Rome do that's original? Don't answer that. The civilization's influence is believed to have contributed to the cultural development of subsequent societies in the Indian subcontinent. Despite the wealth of archaeological findings, though, much about the Indus Valley civilization remains shrouded in mystery, emphasizing the challenges in understanding ancient cultures with undeciphered texts and limited historical records. Ongoing research and excavations continue to provide new insights into this enigmatic civilization who, quite frankly, I would like to know more about. I don't know about you, but I find them very interesting. It is truly fascinating that some of these civilizations were around longer than current day civilizations. I mean, the United States has only been around for 300 years? It's crazy to think that some of these civilizations were around for thousands of years. Some of them still exist. Egypt, still around. China, still around. The Brythonic people... Oh, wait, no. It's not around anymore, but it did evolve into the modern Celtic nations, for example. But the Brythonic people, the people we're going to cover next, were a Celtic-speaking ethnic group who inhabited the British Isles during the Iron Age and Roman period. They are part of the larger Celtic cultural and linguistic group, and their language, known as Brythonic or Brythonic, is the ancestor of modern Welsh, Cornish, and Breton. So, the Brythonic people occupied a significant part of what is now England and Wales, as well as parts of southern Scotland. Various tribes and kingdoms emerged within this territory, including the Brigantes, the Silures, and the Dumnoni, and others. The Brythonic language is a branch of the Celtic languages. Over time, it evolved into distinct languages spoken in different regions: Welsh in Wales, Cornish in Cornwall or Kernow, and Breton in Brittany or Braise. During the Roman occupation of Britain between 43 and 410 AD, roughly, the Brythonic people interacted with the Roman Empire. Some Brythonic leaders allied with or opposed the Romans, and the region saw the construction of Roman towns, roads, and fortifications. Basically, if there's a town or city in the United Kingdom and it's got the name Chester in it, chances are it was a Roman fortification. The Roman influence had a lasting impact on the culture and infrastructure of the Brythonic territories. And even to this day, you know, as a Welsh speaker myself, I can say that there are many Welsh words which contain Latin influence from the Romans. After the Roman withdrawal from Britain in the early 5th century, the Brythonic territories faced external pressures, including invasions by the Anglo-Saxons, also by the Vikings. This period is often associated with the legendary King Arthur, who, if existed, would have been a Brythonic leader resisting the Anglo-Saxon advances. This is why King Arthur is often claimed by the Welsh, and he features quite prominently in Welsh mythological texts such as the Mabinogion. The Brythonic territories underwent Christianization during the late Roman and early medieval periods. Missionaries such as St. Patrick and St. David, who is the patron saint of Wales, and St. Patrick is of course the patron saint of Ireland, they both played key roles in spreading Christianity among the Brythonic people. Before then, the Brythonic people were sort of pagan in their belief system. They would worship trees, the land, kind of like the Starks in Game of Thrones, now that I think about it. The arrival of the Anglo-Saxons and later the Vikings led to the gradual displacement of the Brythonic people in certain areas. The Anglo-Saxons established several kingdoms, and the Brythonic-speaking population retreated to regions such as Wales and Cornwall. If you know the map of Great Britain, the island of Great Britain, you'll know that the regions of Wales, which is its own country, and Cornwall, which is sadly a part of England, are kind of small. But originally they ran free among most of the island of Britain, all the way up until the south of Scotland. So yes, despite the challenges faced by the Brythonic people during and after the Anglo-Saxon and Viking invasions, their languages survived somewhat intact. Welsh, Cymraeg, Cornish, Cernywec, and Breton, which is of course the language of Breton, all survive in some form. Though of course Cornish sadly has experienced a decline due to Cornwall having been subjugated into what is today England. It is more of a county of England these days, with pockets of the language being spoken here and there, but very sadly the region is a retirement destination for many old English people, and it's kind of been overrun. Very sad to see. Modern day Welsh, Cornish, and Breton populations are considered cultural and linguistic descendants of the ancient Brythonic people. These languages have experienced varying degrees of revitalization and preservation efforts in recent times. However, they're not to be confused with the Gaelic languages, which are also Celtic languages, of Scotland, Ireland, and the Isle of Man. These languages are slightly different. Well, in fact, they're very different. You can't speak to an Irish person who doesn't speak Welsh but speaks like Irish Gaelic, for example, in Welsh. You can't speak to a Welsh person in Irish Gaelic if they only speak Welsh. They don't have enough in common to be legible with each other. So the Brythonic people played a crucial role in shaping the cultural and linguistic landscape of the British Isles, and their legacy persists in the Celtic languages spoken in the region today. So whereas the Brythonic people are a lost civilization, they do continue in some form, but this is the same for most other ancient lost civilizations too. They still continue in some form. Crete, for example. Remember we covered Crete last episode? Modern day Crete people. They are still very likely descended from the Minoans. Many of these lost old ancient civilizations have simply evolved into something new and something which is present today. So yes, that's just how it goes. Anyway, that concludes part 2 of this Lost Civilizations video. We are covering 2 per episode, and we're probably going to do 1 episode a week every Friday until I run out of Lost Civilizations to cover. So please hit the subscribe button. It makes a big difference. When you subscribe, I'm happy. And when I'm happy, I can make content for you. Happy content. Like this. Covering civilizations which have been lost to war and disease and... Okay, it's not too happy, but you get my point. Anyway, please hit the subscribe button. And then if that's not enough, would you dare to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Collective Histories page. And then you can follow us on Instagram at instagram.com/The Collective Histories. And then you can follow us on Twitter/X at x.com or twitter.com/Collective Histo. And then you can buy me a coffee, because I am always thirsty. And that's buymeacoffee.com/Collective Histories. Thank you very much, everyone. We look forward to seeing you again. Remember, we make videos every single day, daily content. It's on this day in history type content, 60-second reels, and then 2 to 3 times a week we make these longer videos for you. So we're always busy making content that you enjoy, that I enjoy presenting, and that we can come together and share our love for history. Have a lovely weekend. We'll see you on Monday for the next video. Goodbye.